This is the Decahedron Podcast with Joe and James, two old dudes talking about RPG stuff.
Good morning, James.
Good morning, Joseph.
How was your month or so?
Not much going on, just working, eating, and sleep. Life goes on.
I've had lots of work bouncing between the two jobs, and I had an amazing vacation in Hawaii. Some good, some bad, but that's neither here nor there. None of that is RPG related. What are we talking about today, James?
Well, it's a mixed subject. We are talking about having your character have some life, some background, something to make them other than a simple puppet that goes and hits things.
So it's not just a sheet of paper with some numbers on it, a personality, so to speak.
Yes.
A role that someone plays, so to speak.
Yes, and
wow,
you're gonna bring.
We could call that a role-playing game.
Yeah, and seeing you're going to bring it up with that, I'm going to throw in one of my ideas. This is a game. It's there to be fun. The DM is not there to be your enemy. He's there to set the scene, be the NPCs. So in the game, one of the things that makes it fun is actually have the game feel like a story. And to me, that is making sure the characters have something more than the 6 stat blocks and that I'm a fighter or I'm a thief or I'm this. With that being said, this is a discussion that you do need to either do. I would prefer it as a group, but sometimes it is fun to do it with the DM so there is background information that the other players do not know about. I have done both, and I have been one of the players who, when I first started, it was just a puppet. That's the way I think of it. What do you think, Joe?
Actually, you gave me an idea that I just wrote down on my list for when we talk about annoying character types. Anyway, I'm of mixed opinion on this. First of all, I approach it differently because I think it takes a little bit of work to develop a personality for a character. I don't think it's something that you do with no thought. It takes a little time, a little mental effort to do that. Would you agree?
A little. Depending on the character, sometimes it's a lot, and depending on the other players, it may teeter into more.
Perfect. You are falling into my trap. So, of course, coming from the GM side of things, where I have a billion NPCs to play, I don't have time for that. So I will usually jot down a few quick notes, one personality quirk and a motivation for any important NPC, and for like someone that they encounter on the way that wasn't planned. I can come up with those in my head pretty quickly.
Well, hold on a minute there. There isn't like one or two, let's say, recurring NPCs in your game that you don't flesh out more?
Well, of course, like the Baroness and the Barony and the Baroness and the Traveler game. There are, yes, and villains, of course, require such. But now we're going to get into plotting, and I don't plot. Sorry.
And you fell into my trap.
Aha. We are both trapped. So I don't have time to do that for everyone. Secondly, there are those players who you say, okay, we're playing next week. Roll up a fighter. I don't know. Let's say it's D&D. Roll up a fighter, whatever. Traveler, give me a merchant, whatever. And they will give you a character, and then they will give you 12 pages of character background. Yeah, I'm not going to read that. Not going to happen. I really don't care.
I'm not talking like that, but you are correct. I've been to, and I'm going to say a handful of games where there was people who background stories was more than the campaign or module that we're playing that day. But in theory, what I'm talking about is it should fit on the maybe one page or even on the character sheet where they have the blank 6 inches.
That little square that says character background.
Right.
All right. I can go for that. I have another point to throw out at you. What about emergent character development, as I like to call it. So I make a character, and I have a vague idea, what I want him, her, it to be. But it's not until I start playing it that the personality really develops and things come to life. Until I start speaking in that voice, it is, again, just words on a paper, whatever that personality or background was.
You're right to a point there, but what I'm talking about is, and I know you don't do them, but I will go to a convention game, and I've been in many of the convention games, and the character is just a puppet. The person playing it doesn't have a personality. It's just a robot to them. But for home games especially, I think there should be something about the character's life there. Now, and Joseph knows I am the worst one for this. Most of my characters don't have family backgrounds. They're very orphan oriented or street urchin, where there isn't, and this is where the DM can take into it sometimes, and Joseph will speak on that in a moment, where you can use something from the background of that person. I'm presently listening to a Shadowrun show, and yes, it is a podcast, but
we should definitely do an episode about how much I despise live play podcasts.
But it's interesting. The podcast itself is using, and it's used with the character or with the player's permission to make a story. Now, I'm just going to say that, like in one of the episodes that I just listened to, the family was kidnapped by the big bad guy, and all the family in play for the kidnappings really made the story live. And I should give them at least a plug. The Anarchy Anarchist Shadowrun podcast. But I love the story and the family background, and it was building from the beginning, and I think that's maybe where you're going, is basically you want the whole thing to be developed in the game. Am I right?
No, you're just overstating. So I'm gonna have two more points here.
Okay.
And one was the other one I was touching on. I'm going to talk about my favorite character ever.
Snowden?
Nope, that's my favorite character name, and that's a G, Snogging. Anyway, my favorite character, I can't remember its name actually, because that's what wasn't important. My favorite character was a Gamma World character. I don't know if you were in that game.
With Don? I played 1 or 2 games, and that was it.
It was Gamma World. It was first edition Gamma World. Mm-hmm. And in Gamma World, you had mutations.
Right.
Randomly determined. Some were good, some were bad. And my character, whoops, I'm brushing against the mic. Sorry, folks. My character had the mutation of shape change. And I thought about that for a little bit. And I was like, if you can really change your shape, how do you know what you are? So that was this character's quest. He, she, whatever, did not know if he, she was an intelligent person who could shape change into a fish, or if she, he was a fish that could shape change into a person. Which I thought was brilliant. And that was its quest, was to go out and to find home, other people, whatever it was, its own kind. Anyway, the other thing I'm going to say is, what about a high mortality game?
That's where I think the DM is one of the more important factors. When you do have hit points that are 2 hit points for the magic user, sake of argument, you're right. That character is very highly going to get hit once and either die or have to be healed every other turn. But high mortality games.
So your classic Dungeons and Dragons game, your let's all go down to the dungeon where half the party is going to get wiped out on any given day, where infamously Gary Gygax said to, I think it was Ernie. Ernie was making character, and he said, "Why did you name him?" He didn't even think a character should have a name until they hit I don't know, something like 4th or 6th level or something like that. It's not important, the number. The point is characters were just expected to drop like flies. So why are you going to put in all that effort to creating a personality in a character that you're probably going to have to re-roll 2 sessions later?
Well, I'm going to go against the originator or master, whatever you want to call him,
I'll
of
just call him
D&D.
Gary.
Gary, okay. To me, first level characters always get, and this is my view, I know you're going to disagree, get maximum hit points for whatever they are playing and their constitution roll. That's D&D or any other game I play. As long as it's level based.
All right, so you're not really changing the question. You're trying to avoid it. But
No.
sure, let's go with original D&D. Fighter has 1d6 plus 1 hit point, so you're going to say 7 hit points.
Right.
Every weapon does 1d6 damage, so 2 hits, he's dead, guaranteed. No, not guaranteed. Math doesn't work like that, but probabilistically, he's dead. Cleric is only 1d6, so you give him the full 6. 2 hits, probably 1 maybe. So
But you're on the. I understand your point, but to me, the low levels, you throw insignificant monsters at it so they can at least have a chance to survive. I see your points of giving them background and they're dead in 20 minutes. I've had, I'll say 2 DMs like that, where we were getting new characters, let's say within 30 minutes of starting the game, almost every game.
am I one of those DMs, GMs, referees?
No,
No?
you're more of a story person. When we first played, I think you were more of a Monty Hall.
Yes, not anymore. All
Yeah,
right.
but back then you wanted the character to survive long enough so they were playable, that we didn't have to go back to the town every other battle to get healed.
See where we're now, I think that is the fun in the play. I think we're straying off topic. This is supposed to be about character backgrounds.
Well, let me try a couple things here. One of the things, and it is from Shadowrun, there is a section, and I'm not going to remember what book it's from. I've been looking. I just have the questions. There's a section in there where it's 20 questions about your character. Why did you become this? Where is your family? What was your childhood? Questions to make you think about the character and give the personality I was talking about. But that's just an idea. Myself and me and Joseph are opposite ends of this. When I create a character, I start off with everything but the kitchen sink of what I want, and then I start peeling back the onions and make the character. That's even for class-wise. I'll list all the skills that I want, and I know it's not feasible to have those 20 skills because you only get whatever the points is due to your intelligence, and I pick the ones that I think the character can't do without. That's part of the background too, thinking about what your character wants in life. What does he want to be able to do?
So you've come back to my point in the beginning, where I say character background for me, and the only thing I'm going to read about yours is going to be like 3 bullet points. What's your motivation? Some one interesting thing that happened in their life. That's it. Run everything else from there and let it develop naturally as you play.
I see your point. I just want a little more, but that's my own play style and personality.
And really, if you're playing at my table and you do that, I don't care. I'm just not going to listen to it. That's a little harsh, and it's not quite like that, but you know what I'm saying.
But doesn't it make it interesting when you can pull something out of the character's past that he handed you to use?
Do you like it when a GM tells you something that happened in your past that disagrees with your concept of the character?
It would be. I'm going to go on both sides of that. Depends on what he's suggesting, and I would hope.
I'm not saying suggestion. I'm saying telling.
That's where I'm going with the answer. If it's something that me and the DM discussed, and I agreed to it, I could see fine with it. But it depended on what exactly it is. This is supposed to be a game, so I would think the DM would try to make it interesting and fun what he's suggesting or doing. Does that make sense?
So, oh no, it's the point I'm making. So the problem I have is that, like, the effort you put into making a character, actually probably the effort those people that write 100 pages about their character put into making their character, that's the effort I put into making my world.
Right.
That's the effort I put into the setting, into the city, into the background, into what's happened. And then some player comes along and they say, but I was hurt in the war 20 years ago. There was no war 20 years ago. Well, but I was hurt in the war 20 years ago. Listen to me. There was no war 20 years ago. You get what I'm saying. So,
But that's why I said in the beginning that it's very important to discuss it as a group, or you and the DM to go over it, to have an agreement that is acceptable to both sides.
and now we're back to, okay, GM, here's my 130 pages.
No.
Do you like how I keep increasing the page count every time I say this? Here's my 130 pages about my character background. Go over it and talk to me about it. No.
And that's why I'm agreeing with you. It should not be 130 pages. Maybe, like I said, that blank space on the character sheet, or even one page is my idea of a story background. One page usually.
I'd give you one paragraph.
So like we both say, we're on opposite sides. But let me try to get this back on the rails, which we don't like in playing a game.
But actually, we don't even like it that much in the podcast because this is supposed to be a natural conversation. But we are also running along, so we need to wrap up. So get it back on the rails. Your last comment, then we're leaving.
Okay. Well, to me, make the game fun. Don't be a puppet. Add to the game. Don't subtract to it by making your character something that is taking the spotlight 100% of the time. That's one of Joseph's favorite gripes, that everyone must have their spot. Is that the best way to say it?
Actually, everything you said right there, I cannot disagree one iota with any of that.
So we agree sometimes.
I mean, that entire list you gave, I'm just saying you can do that with 3 bullet points.
I'd find it hard, but I understand where you're going. I just would find it hard myself.
And that could just be a personality difference.
True.
That could be like the way you and I prepare for the episodes. It's very different. I give myself like 4 or 5 bullet points for an episode. That's it. And I go from that. I like things to emerge. I think you like to prep a little more than I do for the episodes.
I do. Remember that 20 question list I had mentioned? I actually have all 20 questions, and it's like, no, I'm not going to ask all the 20 questions. I'm just going to pull 1 or 2 out to give an idea of what I'm talking about. And the 20 questions, it's an idea. It is not something you have to use.
Okay, we are way, way long. I am going to shut us down.
Okay.
I do like questions. You've seen my blog posts. I always do questions about the campaign setting and the rules. I stole those from someone else, but whatever. I like questions, character backgrounds. I like rule systems that incorporate them, like GURPS and stuff, where you have disadvantages for dependents. So like you were saying, for that Shadowrun game where their family got kidnapped, that would be a dependent for the family members. So you get points for that to boost up your character, stuff like that. I do like character backgrounds. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that they should be short, and you shouldn't put too much effort into them because then you're going to feel bad when I kill your character, and I'm not going to feel bad at all.
Yes, you are.
And I thought I was going to say something else there, but that's it. Yeah, we're wrapping this one up. We're at 25 minutes, although I think a good minute or so. That was our flubs in the beginning, but that's still long. So until next week, James, have a great week. And next week, it's still a you topic. All right,
No,
next week.
go on.
No?
Go on.
Well, I think we should talk about the one I thought we were talking about this week and talk about, I'm not even going to say that in the air because we record these in one order, and sometimes I like to put them up in a different order. So I'm not going to say what we're going to talk about next week because that might not be what the listeners hear next week.
Okay, adios all. Have a good week and go have some fun gaming.
Bye.
Bye.
You have been listening to the Decahedron Podcast. Send email to feedback@decahedron.com. Remember to spell decahedron with a K. Voice feedback can be sent through the Anchor website or by calling 562-RPG-CAST. That's 562-774-2278. Links are in the show notes. Music is courtesy of Kevin MacLeod, logo by Design Cat. Thanks for listening.
Hello, Joseph.
Nope, I was going to go first. Good morning, James. It's early.
Good morning, Joseph. And what are we talking about today?
No, I'm the one that asked that question because it's your topic.
Okay.
Can you tell we haven't done this in a while?